Welcome back to part two of the Care Report, all things cyber series with hosts Craig Sikowski and Ralph Pasquarello. Returning guests Erica Watson, Dante Jackson, and Riza Angeles. We continue the conversation with cybersecurity, cyber insurance, and legal introspects into the changing IT tools.
What's really kind of scaring us, and Ralph and I are saying this, we see employees are feeding proprietary data into Chat GPT, just to name one right now. And yeah, I'm going to throw this out to everybody. And Eric, I'd love to get your point of view from a legal perspective. Is it a security breach when something happens? Could it be a compliance violation, or is it just another day and everybody goes on with their business?
Now, from a legal perspective, that is definitely like a company policy violation. If you're thinking about it from a U.S. perspective, right? You work for these organizations and also like a violation of contract, right? You working for these organizations and you are agreeing to make sure that you're maintaining the confidentiality of the data. But the fact is that these individuals are not doing this in a way where they are looking to disclose company trade secrets. They're not, that's not the purpose. They just want to use the tool for productivity. But the organization has not given them an alternative, right, to use. And so they're just using what they have access to. And it does become a major concern because you're losing data that you consider to be as an organization confidential. Once it's out there, it's no longer confidential. So you have no bearing to sit on. And that's a killer, for companies these days. I think it's important for these companies to start having the awareness, making sure that they understand what they can and can't use, with company data. If those conversations are not happening, or if they don't have their own, internal chat GPT, right? Then they're really putting themselves at risk.
So Erica, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
Is it a legal violation if there's no policy combined with no training? So can the employee basically say, "Hey, we had no policy in place for this, so and also no one trained me, so I had no idea we couldn't do this." Is that a legal out or no?
It's not a legal out, no, because it's still the responsibility. If you are an employee and you signed your employment agreement and you agree to, uphold all the things that are within the policies, which I'm sure there is maintained confidentiality, right? That's a major section in any employment agreement. Then, it's a hard argument to make. Um, but again, it's really more about what is lost. What is that organization losing? Because I just don't see that it's like, what are they going to go after the individual for? Right? It's pennies in comparison to the value lost if that information is leaked in a public facing GPT,
So
right?
Craig and Ralph, I think this is might be one of the most important things we talk about today, right? To your listeners here who are employed by companies who are using LLMs or Chat GPT or whatever they Gemini, whatever they may be using, the responsibility lies on you, right? No matter if you haven't received any training from your company, there's no policy in place. It is your responsibility to educate yourself, right, and understand what you are putting into these language models, right? These large language models and what data you're sending out, because there could be some liability there on your part if there is a breach, if data gets out, if there's monetary loss to the company, reputational damage to the company. It can be life changing.
hmm Yeah, I see it from the insurance side of it because we have to look at both of these sides, right? Business interruption right now is one of the most expensive things that a company will incur right now because of cyber, right? And they can be down maybe for 2 days or 40 or 50 days or 60 days. It depends on the attack and how that happens. But if you have something that is malicious, accidental, negligent, or whatever the cause is, if it's detrimental with exposure or just downtime, it could be several things that it's going to fall under. But the downtime could be very, very expensive. And again, the exploit of information could be devastating as well. So, but where do we, it's going to be very interesting to see what the adjusters and the actuaries and everyone come up with. They're going to have a brand new training for a lot of the insurance industry to handle this, because it's not going away. It's going to be exponential as far as I'm concerned. And once you let the cat out of the bag, it's good luck with that. So,
Well, Ralph, I'm going to answer that from the B side, right? That's where the
Yeah.
cyber security and the platform and governance, and going back earlier of what Erica was saying, it all starts with putting that foundational platform put in place, regardless of state or where you live in the US. I know other countries have different regulations, but I think you've got to start there too. And that's the protective layer before you get pierced and you are thinking about liability. You've got to at least have that foundation and practice in place. Reason you and I were talking about that last time, and Dante, when you agree, you've got to get that governance level going first.
100%.
Totally agree.
So, Erica, I ask all the guests this, so I've got kind of a two-parter for you. So, bear with me.
Yeah.
But if you could mandate one change across every organization today, tomorrow, in future, what would that biggest impact on reducing cyber risk in AI be?
Building governance. Did you not guess that I was going to say that? When I say that, I just want to, make sure that it's clear that what everyone understands governance to be. It's really the life cycle. It's the entire life cycle of AI. So it's from the use case. Like what are the use cases that you're thinking of? What are the data rights? What's the testing and validation like? And when you deploy it, is there monitoring? And when it's time to retire it, do you have a process of the entire life cycle? And of course, what you all do with regard to cybersecurity, that's a major component. There's privacy, right? That protects people's data. Cyber protects the systems and the information. And AI governance kind of sits across all of it, requiring, the integration of all of those risk elements and making sure that you have people looking at this. You have resources that are thinking about the management and control of the AI. So that's
Erica,
my answer.
Erica, I've got a question. So
Yes.
Craig and I deal with a lot of companies in the SMB market too, so that those middle to small businesses,
Mm-hmm.
how do they, they don't implement any controls, basically, not a lot of them. And where does that governance lie with like that small market or the SMB market? Who's responsible for that? And I know what you're going to say, but
I mean, it's hard, right, for the smaller companies. I think, there are organizations and frameworks. There are publicly available frameworks that they can look at, like NIST has their AI governance framework. You could take a look at that. I'm not sure in the smaller organizations, what type of functions they have. They may be just a one or two mom and pop shop, right?
Right.
But again, there are frameworks that are available for them to look at and just adopt and say, hey, well, we want to adopt this new AI tool or these tools to help support our workflows. Let us take a look at this and see how we can, incorporate some of these elements, right? So it's out there. It's free. A lot of it's free. But for the larger organizations, medium to large, it's a bigger strategic approach to implement AI governance.
That's easy to say, but when we
Yeah.
can't, some of these smaller companies don't even have multi-factor, it's.
Well, that's a whole other
I know.
set of risk.
I know.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So, Erica, from all the clients that you're dealing with right now, and this is open to anybody here,
Sure.
but what keeps you guys up at night talking about AI, the things that are happening? We've come, a moonshot away from where we were even 5 years ago. What keeps you guys up at night?
Well,
Thora.
go ahead. Go ahead, Riza. Say it again.
Sorry. Yeah, I think right now the biggest thing that keeps me up is the use of, or the expanded use, and how much has been gained by AI generated videos. So, there's an app called Sora now that's all kind of the scary new app that's out there, and it's because of how realistic these AI generated videos are, and the concerns around someone who has a grudge against you potentially being able to upload your likeness and do malicious things with that. So it's infringing on things that historically in the cyber world we used as controls, right? Your biometrics that were used to authenticate you to different things, the use of your image and your voice can now be leveraged by AI to do a whole slew of harmful things. So for me, that's the biggest scary thing right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
deepfakes are definitely moving. I'm sorry,
yeah,
go ahead, Dante.
Greg, I'll second Riza. It's funny because I was not funny, but I was looking at a video the other day and they were showing those AI videos. Like I think literally like 3 years ago, there was kind of one of Will Smith going around eating pasta, and it was just really really bad, and he was just morphing into different figures compared to like what it is right now. I mean, the last couple of years, and it's literally amazing. So I mean, just think about what this is going to look like in 5 years, and the ability for bad actors to essentially simulate your boss, right? Like, jump into a WebEx or a chat and have a video where your boss is instructing you to do something, or, even, one of the trainers, right? I mean, LinkedIn, you can get photos of people very, very, very easily, and say, hey, we're doing password changes, things like that. I think that is like very, very, very dangerous. And I think it's just going to be another weapon for bad actors to use against companies.
That's when two-factor becomes three-factor.
That's right.
I think we're not that far away.
Yeah, we're not. And I have to just third that one. That was a good one. I've been playing around with Sora too. There's so much you can do. There's so much you can do. It's mind blowing. But when Craig asked that question, my answer was going to just be like waking up. I feel like every day when I wake up from sleeping, I don't know what's new, what's going to be new, what to expect. I just feel like this is just moving so quickly. It's hard to stay on top of it, right? The focuses have shifted just within the last couple months. We see these models now focusing more on being right sized, right? Like to focus on a specific task. We're seeing agents. Now we have agents, right, that are taking actions on your behalf, right, through these AI. You want to do a trip to Jamaica? Tell me everything that you want to do and let me go and give me your credit card and give me, your other information, your ID, so I can go and execute on your behalf. So that's a whole other set of risk, right? And then also just this concept of trust, right? That has evolved as well. So I just feel like everything's just moving so fast. It's just hard to stay on top of it. And that's what keeps me up at night.
So I've got a kind of a final question as we're wrapping up here, but it's a scenario. And Ralph and I recently finished up a rather large assessment for a well-known tech university in the Southeast, and we helped walk through the program and the process in front of the board. But if you guys were to walk in front of a boardroom with 10 minutes to explain AI and your cyber risk protocols and what you could help a company with, what's your opening line? That's a tough one.
It is a tough one. You can go so many different ways, right? And depending on which board you're talking about, it's your response or your headline will be different depending on which board it is. Some may value health data and their health agents much more than financial and their customer service rep that's on their website.
We always start off with, what if you're wrong? And how do you know? And board members just look at us and you can see their heads tilting to the side going, huh.
Well, we say that from experience, Craig, because 95% of the companies that we have worked with are faulty as far as their coverages and their security.
Well, Ralph, that's a great question. I mean, and a great response. You know, the last response that we put is saying, why are you leading with half a dashboard? You don't have all the facts. And they're constantly changing. So that's something to think about.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a tough one because I always point to like what is your code and who is your client, like who is your customer, and I think about what would your customer expect of you. So of course they're adopting AI for scale, for productivity, but if it's not reliable, if you can't prove that it's safe and fair and fit for purpose, then what are we doing? We're not really meeting the customer nor our own internal code expectations.
Yeah.
So I'm going to end this with kind of a round robin. Erica, I'm going to start with you. If you have one piece of advice for any company, SMB, all the way up to an enterprise, what would you provide them for AI?
Well, I would say pause and think. Make sure that what you're adopting, again, is fit for purpose, that it makes sense, that you need it, and understand any risk that comes along with it.
Reeza, I'm going to go to you next.
I'm sorry. That one's, there's a lot to it, and I'm having a little trouble getting my thoughts together on that one. So if you could come back to me, or
You know what I'd like to do, Reeza? I'd like to come back to you and have you back. I think this is a really productive conversation today that I think are going to really light up people's thoughts and process. So Dante, how about you?
Yeah, correct. Do you mind repeating that one more time for me?
What's one piece of advice you can give to a company, especially like SMB, all the way up to enterprise, with AI and your thoughts to cyber?
I think one piece of advice I would give them is something that we talked about today, is to make sure you have your policy in place, right? Like have an idea of where you're looking to go with it. And, even from like a roadmap perspective, year 1, year 2, year 3, and make sure that the policy that you create aligns to that strategy, right? And that roadmap, because I just think a lot of times, again, we kind of jump out of the plane, right, without a plan to land. And I think that's what policy does. That's what GRC is all about, right? And making sure that you have that risk management, that understanding, right? Those policies that you can refer back to when things do go wrong or go bad. So to me, that's the one sound advice I would give a company, is to make sure that you have some type of policy and structure in place.
Dante, I can't echo enough how much I agree with you. I think people jump out of the plane without even looking if they've got their parachute attached because they're so excited about the new technologies. So
Right.
Ralph, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I love that, Dante, jumping out of the plane. But here's the thing, you know what? If I'm sitting on a plane and the guy next to me weighs 50 pounds and he gives me his parachute, it's not going to work, right?
Right.
And that's what we deal with every day when we deal with companies and they have a $5 million cyber policy, and meanwhile their exposure is 30 million, and they think they're going to land on the ground safely, right? And that's a great analogy. But so like Craig and I always say, verify, validate, quantify, make sure that what you have is what you need, not what the guy sitting next to you on a plane gives you. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, team, I think this has been great. I want to thank everybody for their feedback. Erica, you definitely brought in an extra missing piece to that, and that's from the governance and legal side, and I appreciate that. Love to have you guys back to continue this. I know we did that a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was very advantageous, and I think we've only scratched the surface of where we can go with this. So love to have you guys back. But thank you, Erica, Dante, Reeza, Ralph. Thank you very much for joining us for another Care Report podcast. We care, and so should you. Thank you very much, everybody.
thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for joining the Care Report channel. Please join us on our YouTube Care Report channel for more great conversations and content. We look forward to seeing you soon. We care, and so should you. Thanks again.